Bonjour. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. Last Saturday. Um, I'm back at it again with another video. Um, it feels like negative 14 over here in New York. What the hell? Anyway, let's get right into this video, honey pie. So what's been very interesting to me as of lately, I've been very interested in the people who perhaps at one point dibble-dabbled in, I don't know, perhaps like witchcraft or whatever, just anything pertaining towards that. I'll just write, and ended up converting for the first time or reconverting back to Christianity or whatever religion they might be coming from, whatever. But in this case, I'm going to focus on Christianity. It's always so interesting to me. Because, like I said in my other videos, ever since I was a kid, ever since I was like really fully able to really formulate a thought or to critically think or just to really observe something or whatever, it didn't take long till I realized that there's something off with the religion, you know. It's not what people are saying it is. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. It's a very oppressing and controlling kind of thing going on there. And that's simply what it is. And, you know, once you see something, you simply cannot unsee it, right? And so, given that notion, once you see something, you cannot unsee it, I really do wonder, why do people go back to that or go to that in the first place, right? And because of that, it really makes me question their intention in the first place, as to why they started dibbling and dabbling into, I don't know, witchcraft or whatever they might be doing, tarot, spell work, whatever the hell they're doing. I don't know. Right? What's the intention? What was the intention behind that? I think that sometimes people like might stray or not stray or kind of want to dibble and dabble into it perhaps because they perhaps think that it's something that, I don't know, how do I say it? Something that like they can just go to for fast results, something that can be just for funsies and everything of this nature, something that doesn't require work. I think that perhaps they just think that it's something that they can just go to just get whatever they want out of it. Or whatever it may be. I don't know. I really do question the intention of these people who do that and then leave. And subject themselves back to oppression. It's always so puzzling to me. And one of the main things that like all of the people like have in common as to why they decided to do that. I like to look at videos. I like to read about people. I suppose like it's one of my guilty pleasures is like doing that, or even apart from that is just seeing what's going on in like the Christian world. It's just like a guilty pleasure of mine. It's just very entertaining for me. Sorry, it's just like really fun. But anyway, one of the main things that they all seem to have in common as to why they decided to convert or reconvert is that whatever it is that they were doing pertaining towards like witchcraft or anything of this nature, they all seem to share that the experience of things hitting the fan, or things not going their way, or things falling apart externally or internally, whatever it may be. And I'm going to say that depending on everyone's situation is different, but I'm going to say that sometimes is supposed to happen. I think that, when people kind of start, exploring this kind of stuff or whatever, they think it's an easy way out, is what I'll say. They think it's an easy way out. They see it as something that more or less does the work for them, Yeah, I'm just gonna say they see it as something as an easy way out. Or, perhaps if a person is working or making deals, whatever it may be, with deities, I think that they expect said deity, whatever, to do all the work for them. Um, when it comes to tarot as well, too, I think that people tend to forget that it's also an amazing tool for self-improvement, self-development, and self-reflection. Um, I never think it's a good idea for people to kind of go towards it just for the sake of keeping up with what's going on with other people or future predictions, whatever it may be. I think that it's an amazing tool for self development. Um, but anyway, yeah, I'm going to argue that things should start hitting the fan sometimes because, you know, it's a mirror. Um, Stepping into this kind of stuff, I will say, at least in my experience, and from what I've gathered, whatever, it's a mirror. It's only going to reflect to you what's going on within you. Um, it's going to reflect to you um, all the situations, the connections, within yourself or with other people that need to fall apart. Um, right? Because how can you advance within yourself, within your craft, when you still have so much things around you and inside of you chaining you down, weighing you down? Um, and then, so I guess that sometimes when this like happens to people or whatever, like I said, sometimes they just expect us to do all the work for them. But when they start getting reflected to them what the fuck is actually going on, that's when they want to take a step back. And it honestly also comes from a place of, yeah, just like not wanting to do the work, not wanting to take accountability. Not wanting to take accountability. Not wanting to put in the work. Which, yet again, sends back to the intention as to why they even started getting into it in the first place. Um, that's always, intention is so important. You know what I'm saying? Intention is so important. Um, and like around like last year or whatever, when I was on TikTok, there was a person who would constantly show from my For You page giving more or less, I'll say, like channel messages or whatever. They were connected supposedly or whatever, I don't know, or whatever, to a specific deity, giving a channel message from that deity. And then one day came along where this person posted videos saying how they're done doing that, how what they were doing was wrong, and that they've converted their life to Christ. And they explained a little bit as to why they've decided to do that. And in the video, they just honestly started describing that, things, they're at the lowest point in their life, how things just whatever, how basically just they're at the lowest point in their life right now. um, and that made them realize that dibbling dabbling or whatever was wrong, and as to why they decided to reconvert or convert. I don't know if this was this person's first or whatever time there. And that's always a common theme as well too, even apart from people who weren't even dibbling and dabbling. But Christianity seems to be a thing that more or less preys on people's desperation. We hear stories all the time about people who were at rock bottom, at the lowest point in their life, and everything of this nature. Um, it was that specific moment that really show them that they needed to do that to, convert to Christianity and everything of this nature. I'm going to say that it's in those moments where one must realize how strong and how resilient they actually are, how capable they actually are. Um, I think sometimes people might, go to a certain deity, like I said, expecting them to do the work for you or doing the work for them. Um, and I just don't think that's the way that is or how it's supposed to be. As I always say in my videos, well, too, we're all gods. To be a god is to create. It's not my, I'm saying, it's just a thing, and I'm just reinforcing it that we are all our own gods. To be a god is to create. How can you truly awaken to your own power, your own strength, if you have to rely on anything, any being outside of you to do the work for you? I was reading this other thing as well too about this person who reconverted more or less because they were advancing more or less within their craft to the point where they started getting very boastful and very prideful, and more or less this person said that they angered the wrong crowd or whatever who had done some spell work on them or anything of this nature, and it really shook them up, right? And it's in that moment where they decided that they needed to, turn to Christ. I think it's also very important to keep in mind that in every single kind of thing there is witchcraft, Christianity, whatever, even beyond that, right? There is going to be good and bad. Um, Whatever, right? We see duality within everything. Nature is a very dual kind of thing, right? And I think that, like, anyway, there's both good and bad within so many things, right? But that's the key thing there, though, right? Within what this person said there, how because they did share and say that they started getting very um, prideful and boastful and more or less arrogant within what they were doing in their craft. Um, Whatever spell work perhaps they might have been doing, whatever, right? And this is what I'm just saying, that like intention is so important within everything that you're doing. When it comes to spell work and everything of this nature, like I said, I think sometimes people are just looking for a quick result, quick solution. I do not think that when it comes to spell work, sometimes that it's something that should be sought after in the heat of the moment, right? Because sometimes our emotions can be very um, clouding, if that's the correct way to say that. You know what I'm saying here? We should never allow our ego to fuel that. And when I say that, I'm not saying as though I'm above that or anything of this nature. Hello, I'm a human being. Like I always say, I'm learning each and every single day. I see myself as a student. I'm a student. I'm here to learn and I'm having fun. Genuinely. As a Gemini, I love it, right? But that as well too just kind of doing things to satiate the ego, you're never going to be satisfied, right? So it's very important to really take a step back to understand what's the intention behind why you're wanting to do this, or why you're wanting to do that. And like I said, this person said that they started getting very caught up in the power that it made them feel, right? Control. That's something that can be very jading to a person, the illusion of control. But, naturally, whatever, to each their own. If, converting back to whatever, to Christianity, helps a person see better at night, then so be it. But, I think it's a terrible excuse to leave one thing to go to another thing, just to point your fingers at something that you simply did not understand, to point your fingers at something that was only reflecting something to you, that was simply reflecting something back towards you about you. Um, Everything is a mirror, every single thing, and that's why I guess what it is, sometimes people just want to feel coddled all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. I understand, but within Christianity, there's a lack of accountability and just kind of just blaming things on the devil all the time, right? You have lustful feelings, whatever. Oh, that's the devil. Whatever. Rather than taking accountability for some kind of feeling or accepting it, or accepting it. Um, but yeah, this is just also very interesting to me. Um, but yeah, like intention. It all just stems back down to the intention as to why they even started dibbling and dabbling in the first place. Did they even take the time to understand what it is that they were doing, or were they rushing very deep down into it, wanting fast results, or you know, like I said, in my experience and in my opinion, dibbling and dabbling into this kind of stuff, as I said, I'm very intrigued with the occult, is an important tool for self-mastery, if you allow it to. It teaches you so much about yourself and outside of yourself, that being nature. Really awakens you to how we are all interconnected. Um, and that part being where it teaches you about yourself. It's important to know yourself, to know your truth. Because if you don't know your own truth, like I said in other videos, you cannot recognize when outside of yourself something is controlling you, or manipulating you, or confining you, right? As they say, know thyself. Because when you don't know yourself, you lean towards things that tell you who you are, how you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to feel, what you're supposed to do. It's a good thing when things start hitting the fan, when you start dibbling dabbling. It can be a good thing if you allow it to, because things need to deteriorate within your life that no longer need to be there. And I'm also speaking from experience as well too. When I started, exploring, satisfying my curiosity and everything of this nature, a lot of things began to deconstruct within my mind, my belief systems, and within my connections. 100%. And it's an ongoing process. You have to be willing to face those parts about yourself that make you feel uncomfortable. You have to be willing to release the things outside of yourself that no longer serve you. How can you grow? How can you evolve? Stop demonizing what you don't understand because it didn't give you what you want. Sometimes you'll get what you need. What's that song by the Rolling Stones? You can't always get what you want. But you'll always get what you need.